Seniors, I am begging you to stop eating these 5 vegetables that are slowly damaging your heart. You eat your veggies. You stay active. You do everything the doctor says. So why does your heart still feel tired? You wake up a little slower. You feel your pulse skipping. And sometimes after a healthy meal, you feel worse, not better. Friend, I want to tell you something no one else is saying. Some vegetables that were once your medicine might now be hurting you. This isn't about fear, it's about clarity. After 60, your body changes. Your heart becomes more sensitive. Your digestion less forgiving. And what once healed can quietly cause strain, spikes, or fatigue. But here's the good news. The solution isn't drastic. You don't need to give up food. You just need to make wiser, gentler choices that work with your heart, not against it. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 5 common vegetables that may no longer be safe for your heart and simple, healing alternatives that can restore your energy and protect your strength. So take a breath. You're in the right place. And if you care about protecting your heart and living with clarity, tap that red subscribe button. This is where seniors like you reclaim peace, power, and freedom, one small choice at a time. Part 1, tomato trouble. When acidity turns against you. You've been told tomatoes are heart healthy. They're red, juicy, full of antioxidants. And for years, you probably felt good adding them to your salads, sandwiches, and sauces. But here's what no one told you. After 60, tomatoes can quietly turn on your heart. Let me explain. Tomatoes belong to the nightshade family alongside eggplants, peppers, and white potatoes. These foods contain natural compounds called solanine and histamine triggers that, in a younger digestive system, are usually processed without issue. But after 60, your stomach acid drops, your gut lining becomes more sensitive. And instead of breaking down that tomato smoothly, your body may react with low-grade inflammation, heartburn, or even heart rhythm issues you didn't see coming. A study from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that over 36% of people over 60 experience hidden reflux or esophageal inflammation, even without classic symptoms like burning. That means your tomato soup might not feel spicy, but your heart could still feel the heat. Have you ever eaten something healthy and then felt your chest tighten a bit? Not quite pain, but not peace either. That heaviness could be your heart asking you to reconsider not the whole vegetable, but how often and in what form you eat it. Take Martha, a 71-year-old from Ohio, who loved her garden-fresh tomatoes. She added them to every lunch, but for months, she felt this odd flutter in her chest after meals. Her doctor ran all the tests, no major blockages, no clear diagnosis, until one day, a dietitian suggested just try removing tomatoes for 2 weeks. The result? Her palpitations eased, her digestion improved, and for the first time in months, she slept without clutching her chest at night. Now, does that mean tomatoes are bad? No, they're not poison, but they might not be the friend your heart needs right now. So what can you do? Instead of raw tomatoes, try roasted red peppers. They offer a similar flavor with lower acidity and no solanine. Swap spaghetti sauce made with tomato paste for a carrot and basil puree rich in beta-carotene, gentle on digestion, and surprisingly delicious. And if you truly love tomatoes, cook them slowly and pair with a bit of healthy fat, like olive oil, to ease the impact on your gut. Because when your digestion calms, your heart follows. You see, this isn't about cutting out your favorite foods forever. It's about recognizing how age changes your body's rules and responding with wisdom instead of habit. Now, if you found this helpful, let me know in the comments with a 1. If not, feel free to write 0 so we can keep improving these videos just for you. And stick with me, because in the next part, we'll talk about a green superfood that's celebrated in every health magazine, but maybe silently stealing strength from your arteries and kidneys. Yes, I'm talking about raw kale and spinach. You might be surprised by what they're doing inside your body. Part 2, raw kale and spinach, superfoods with a secret risk. In the last section, we talked about tomatoes, how a healthy food can become a hidden burden after 60. But tomatoes aren't alone. There's another group of vegetables, praised in every health magazine, featured in smoothies and salads. And yet, for aging hearts and kidneys, they can quietly do more harm than good. I'm talking about raw kale and spinach. Yes, 2 of the biggest superfoods of the last decade. But here's the quiet truth. These leafy greens are loaded with oxalates, natural compounds that may overburden your kidneys and harden your arteries as you age. Let's break it down. Oxalates bind to calcium in your body. Normally, that's not a big problem, your kidneys filter them out. But after 60, your kidney function slows. Your filtration system becomes more delicate. And instead of clearing those oxalates, your body starts to store them in your joints, your blood vessels, even in your heart. That buildup can lead to calcium oxalate crystals, which have been linked to kidney stones, arterial calcification, high blood pressure, joint stiffness, fatigue and fogginess. A study published in the Clinical Journal of the American Society of Nephrology found that older adults with high oxalate diets had a significantly greater risk of kidney function decline compared to those with low oxalate diets. And here's the part no one tells you. Blending raw kale and spinach into smoothies actually makes it easier for your body to absorb these oxalates, quickly causing a spike in load. Just when your kidneys are trying to slow down, take Leonard, 68, from Arizona. He began every morning with a green smoothie: spinach, kale, a banana, almond milk. He felt good for a while, but after a few months, he noticed muscle cramps, stiffness, and unusual fatigue. Blood work revealed early-stage kidney strain. His doctor traced it back not to sugar, not to salt, but to his beloved healthy smoothie. He swapped it out for lightly steamed greens and rotated in zucchini and lettuce. And within weeks, his energy returned. That's the lesson here. It's not about fear, it's about wisdom. You can still enjoy greens, but the form matters. Here's how to make them heart and kidney friendly. Steam spinach and kale for 2-3 minutes to lower oxalate levels by nearly 60%. Rotate your greens, include low oxalate options like romaine, arugula, mustard greens, or bok choy. Add a squeeze of lemon juice to help bind oxalates and ease digestion. And always pair your greens with a healthy fat like olive oil or avocado. It slows absorption and supports heart health. Now you may be thinking, if even kale and spinach can backfire, what about all the processed stuff? You're absolutely right to ask. Because next, we'll look at something that sneaks into even the healthiest meals: pickled vegetables and the sodium trap hiding inside. You might be shocked by how quickly your blood pressure responds after just one meal. But don't worry, we'll walk through gentle swaps that keep the flavor and ditch the risk. Part 3: Pickled Vegetables, the Hidden Sodium Trap. In the last section, we looked at how something as green and healthy as kale could quietly burden your kidneys and stiffen your arteries. But what if I told you that an even more common food, often served with love, tradition, and good intentions, could send your blood pressure soaring in just one meal? I'm talking about pickled vegetables. Cucumbers, kimchi, sauerkraut, pickled beets. They're crunchy, flavorful, and remind many of us of home-cooked meals and cultural heritage. But beneath that salty, sour crunch is something your heart may not tolerate anymore. Sodium, often hidden in plain sight. Let's get specific. The American Heart Association recommends no more than 500 milligrams of sodium per day for adults over 60, yet just 1/2 cup of regular pickled cucumber can contain over 650-900 milligrams of sodium. Add a slice of pickled beet. That's another 300-400 milligrams. A few olives, easily 250 milligrams more. That means one small snack plate can push you well over your sodium needs for the entire day before dinner even begins. But it's not just about the numbers. After 60, your blood vessels become less elastic. Your kidneys filter slower. And too much sodium doesn't just make you thirsty. It increases blood volume, puts pressure on your arteries, and forces your heart to work harder than it should. A study published in Hypertension, a journal of the American Heart Association, showed that adults over 65 who regularly consume high-sodium diets have a 2.3x higher risk of left ventricular hypertrophy, a thickening of the heart muscle that leads to heart failure over time. And the hardest part, you often don't feel it. No sharp pain, no warning signs, just a silent rise in blood pressure. Until one day, you feel dizzy standing up, or winded walking across the room, or worse, end up in the ER with a heart episode no one saw coming. That's what happened to Dennis, 72, from North Carolina. He loved snacking on pickled okra and olives while watching the news. But his blood pressure kept creeping up even though he was eating less meat, walking daily, and taking medication. the culprit sodium. Once he swapped his salty snacks for fresh cucumber slices with a squeeze of lemon and herbs, his readings dropped from 158/95 down to 124/78 in just 4 weeks. So, what can you do? Gentle swaps for salty cravings, fresh cucumbers with apple cider vinegar and a sprinkle of dill, lemon zested shredded cabbage with olive oil instead of jarred slaw, roasted beets with balsamic glaze instead of pickled ones. Use herbs like rosemary, thyme, and basil to replace salty flavor profiles. You don't have to give up taste. You just have to give your heart a break. And here's the quiet truth. Sometimes it's not what you add, but what's added for you. Which brings us to a new threat hiding in plain sight: canned vegetables with added sugar. You may think corn and peas are safe, but the sweetness added to these shelf-stable foods might be throwing your insulin and your heartbeat off balance. Let's unpack that next. Part 4. Canned corn and sweet peas, the blood sugar roller coaster. In the last section, we uncovered how something as comforting as a pickled snack can quietly spike your blood pressure and weigh heavy on your heart. But sodium isn't the only silent saboteur hiding in vegetables. There's another culprit you'll find in many kitchen pantries, a sweet one. I'm talking about canned corn and sweet peas. These two vegetables often appear in light meals, soups, or side dishes. They look innocent. They're labeled natural, but many versions come with added sugars and starches that your aging body may no longer process well. Here's why it matters. After 60, your metabolism slows. Your insulin response weakens. And foods with a high glycemic index, even when they come from vegetables, can cause blood sugar spikes that put tremendous strain on your heart and circulatory system. Most people think sugar harms only diabetics, but that's not the full picture. Every time your blood sugar rises sharply, your heart rate may increase, your arteries stiffen temporarily, and your body releases more insulin, leading to fatigue, brain fog, and inflammation. A 2021 study in the Journal of the American Heart Association found that older adults with high post-meal blood sugar variability had a 58% higher risk of cardiovascular events, even if they weren't diabetic. Let's break this down with a real-world example. One standard can of sweet corn contains up to 6-8 grams of added sugar, depending on the brand. That's about 1.5 to 2 teaspoons hidden in something you thought was a vegetable. Now combine that with sweet peas, which may have corn syrup or modified food starch added for texture and taste. Suddenly, your light lunch is acting more like dessert in your bloodstream. Take Nancy, 74, from Michigan. She was eating healthily, at least that's what she believed. A typical lunch was a bowl of canned soup with corn and peas. But every afternoon, she'd crash, fatigue, cravings, a rapid pulse she couldn't explain. Her doctor tested her blood sugar, not diabetic, but with dramatic spikes after meals. The culprit: hidden sugars in her vegetables. When she swapped canned corn for roasted zucchini and fresh snap peas, her energy stabilized, and so did her heart rate. So, what's the fix? Simple swaps for better blood sugar and heart health. Choose unsweetened frozen peas or corn with no additives. Try roasted carrots, zucchini, or butternut squash for sweetness without sugar. Cook with whole grains like farro, quinoa, or barley for slow-release energy. Read labels carefully. Watch for terms like glucose, fructose, corn syrup, or modified starch. The goal isn't to fear food, it's to trust your body's new needs and feed them wisely. Because your body after 60 doesn't need less food. It needs food that listens. But even when you read every label, even when you try your best, there's one last trap that often gets overlooked. It's not in the taste. It's not in the sugar. It's in the preservatives, emulsifiers, and hidden chemicals inside those frozen veggie blends we toss into pans thinking they're safe. So we come to next part. Part 5, frozen veggie mixes with preservatives, the hidden chemistry. In the last section, we peeled back the label on canned corn and sweet peas, how even vegetables can act like sugar bombs inside a body that's slowing down. But what if you tried to avoid all that? What if, in trying to eat better, you picked up a frozen veggie bag and unknowingly walked into a new kind of trap? Because not all frozen vegetables are created equal. Yes, frozen produce can be a healthy choice, but those pre-mixed veggie blends with sauces, seasonings, and stabilizers, that's where things get tricky. Let's look at what really happens when we saute a steam-in bag mix of carrots, green beans, and peas labeled as buttery, savory, or ready in minutes. Flip that bag over. You'll often see a long list: sodium phosphate, potassium sorbate, modified food starch, guar gum, soy lecithin, artificial flavor. These are not ingredients from a garden. Many of these additives are emulsifiers and preservatives designed to keep color, texture, and shelf life intact. But your body, especially your heart, liver, and gut, may not know how to handle them anymore. A landmark 2023 study published in Nature Medicine followed over 110,000 adults over a decade. It found that those with the highest intake of ultra-processed foods, especially those with emulsifiers, had a 29% higher risk of cardiovascular disease independent of weight, exercise, or even sodium intake. And what makes this worse for seniors after 60? Your liver detoxifies more slowly, your gut lining is more permeable, and your heart, it's more vulnerable to the inflammation triggered by synthetic additives. Take Harold, 76, from Oregon. He switched to frozen veggie stir-fries thinking he was making a smart move. But after a few months, he developed gas, bloating, and irregular heartbeats. His cardiologist asked one question: what's in the sauce? The problem wasn't the vegetables, it was the chemistry coating them. When Harold began prepping his own frozen vegetables at home, steaming fresh carrots, green beans, and squash with just olive oil and herbs, his digestion improved. His heart calmed. His energy returned. You see, sometimes what we remove heals more than what we add. How to avoid chemical confusion in frozen foods. Buy plain frozen vegetables, no sauces, no flavor packets. Look for ingredient lists with 1 or 2 items only: egg, peas, water. Avoid bags that list more than 3 preservatives or flavor enhancers. Better yet, prep your own freezer packs with fresh-cut veggies, olive oil, and lemon juice. Steam or saute, gently let the flavor come from nature, not a lab. Because your heart doesn't need another challenge. It needs clarity, simplicity, and real food that speaks your body's language. At this point, you may be wondering, if so many healthy vegetables come with hidden dangers, what should I actually eat? That's exactly what we'll wrap up with. In our final section, we'll revisit the core lesson behind everything we've shared: not to fear vegetables, but to choose them with wisdom. We'll talk about what your heart truly needs now and how to rebuild trust in your plate again. Let's bring it all together, one gentle step at a time. My dear friends, the gentle power of knowing better. You've made it this far, thank you. It tells me something very important. You don't just want to live longer, you want to live wiser. We've talked about 5 vegetables today: tomatoes, kale, pickled sides, canned corn, frozen blends. None of them are bad. But after 60, your body changes. And the foods that once gave you strength may now need to be reevaluated. But this isn't a story of fear. It's a story of awareness, of learning to listen more closely, of treating your heart not like a machine, but like a lifelong friend. Because that's what it is. It's beat for you when you were born. It stayed with you through joy, loss, love, and aging. And now, it's simply asking for something new, a bit more gentleness, a bit more understanding. So choose with care, eat with trust. And when in doubt, ask your body, not just the label. You don't need a perfect diet, you need a kind one. If this video helped you see things differently, comment with yes below. If you've learned something new, I'd love to hear what. And if you want more videos that speak to your stage of life, your strength, and your story, please hit that red subscribe button. This is your space now. Take care of your heart. It's taken care of you for decades, and together, we'll help it beat strong for years to come.